on the actual pick here.
3:30 ABC. It is Georgia minus 13 points, squaring off against Georgia Tech. They're playing this game in Atlanta, I believe, Mercedes-Benz Stadium. So technically
Correct.
neutral site, but Georgia Tech obviously based in Atlanta. There will be a healthy supply of Georgia fans there, I am sure. Last year, Georgia won this game 44 to 42, excuse me, in a casual 8 overtime thriller.
You know how it goes. Yeah.
Other than Michigan beating Ohio State, this was one of the big stories of Rivalry Week a year ago. 44 to 42. It was a hell of a game on a Friday night. I remember you and I were tweeting about it, talking about it. It was a lot of fun. This year, Georgia will get into the SEC title game if Texas beats Texas A&M, or if Auburn wins the Iron Bowl, or they could just win this game and not get in and grab the 4th or 5th seed, which I think works to their advantage. Meanwhile, if you're Georgia Tech, you need to win, and you need to hit an absolute ACC chaos parlay of Cal beating SMU, Pitt beating Miami, and Virginia Tech beating Virginia if you even want to sniff a conference championship.
Right.
They're not.
So that's what, 2 interim wins at Virginia Tech and Cal?
Yes.
Yeah.
You need a lot to break. The point of this game, though, is not the playoffs. The point of this game is not the rankings. The point of this game is clean, old-fashioned hate. And I think this one is a big-time danger zone for Georgia right now. I think this is danger territory.
Okay.
Bear in mind, Tech could absolutely affect seeding by knocking off the Dogs. I mean, you want to beat your hated rival, always.
Always.
But if we're being realistic here, this is what they are playing for. They are playing to make life difficult for Georgia, more difficult for Georgia. And I say beware the team with nothing to lose. Always beware that team. I think Tech is going to empty the clip. Make sure they bring their extra batteries for Haynes King because he's going to be out there with reckless abandon. I think we are going to get 110% full maximum effort from Georgia Tech to try and pull an upset here. And that scares me because Georgia is probably in the playoff one way or another.
Right.
So I'm worried about this game, and the point spread to me is giving me some skeeves. Because, again, that feels like a lot of potatoes against a team that can score in Georgia Tech. What do you think?
I don't like how Georgia Tech's defense is played. You're going to talk about emptying the clip. You're going to talk about like throwing everything in the kitchen sink at Georgia. Of course they are. Of course they are. It's Georgia Tech, Georgia. They do that every year, and sometimes they just have nothing. There's nothing in the sink. And the thing I worry about here is Georgia gets to play against the Georgia Tech defense. And Georgia's really well coached. And this game is not going to be in a hostile place like it would have been if it were at Bobby Dodd. And I worry about this Georgia Tech team. Now, you can say this was a look-ahead spot last week against Pitt. But if you go down 28-0 to Pitt immediately, all due respect to Pitt, there's more going on than just looking ahead with your defense. There's more slop inside than perhaps we figured. And we saw it, against NC State a few weeks ago?
Yeah.
I'm real worried about Georgia Tech in this one. I'm real worried that maybe Georgia, and this was a different Georgia, especially offense last year for a couple different reasons, that Georgia is going to be taking this game not more seriously, but they'll have a little bit more of that laser focus like they would for a huge game because there are stakes in a way that there weren't necessarily last season. Because Georgia Tech last year was good, but I don't think Georgia went into this game with that kind of steely focus. I think the Georgia Tech defense is the worst thing in this game, and it's not particularly close. We'll see health-wise where Georgia is on their own defense with C.J. Allen. But even still, I think they've been playing well enough that this game is meaningful enough that, I mean, easier said than done. You got to stop Haynes King on the ground and through the air. But I'm just not there with Georgia Tech in this moment because their defense, by not playing well, is potentially going to leave their offense with no choice but to once again score that many points, but in regulation this year.
Okay.
And I just think that's a tall ask. What's the latest number?
13. Let me give you a counterpoint.
Please.
So on the Georgia side, Georgia has played 3 offenses inside the top 20 SP plus offensive metric. They gave up 41 on the road against Tennessee.
Long time ago, but yes.
Long time ago. They lost at home against Alabama. Yep. And they beat Ole Miss at home a couple weeks back, but they gave up like 35 points.
Right.
I like this.
And they held Bama scoreless. They held Bama scoreless in the second half of that game, right?
They did.
Yeah.
I like this Georgia defense. I do. But let's not pretend that they're the 85 Bears. This is not a brick wall. They are 95th in pressure rate. They are very mortal against the pass. And this still is a very good Georgia Tech offense. Say what you will about the defense, and I do not disagree. They've been a mess. But offensively, they're very good, and they can score.
That's true.
So when I'm looking at this point spread here, and when I'm talking about danger zone territory for Georgia, I'm not even so much saying it in terms of like, yeah, I think Georgia Tech can win. I don't know if they can win. Can they cover 13 points based on what we've seen from the Georgia defense against better offenses? I think that answer is yes. And I think this will be fun. I think they will pull out all the stops to try and keep this one close. I've got it at 41-31 Georgia. But I think Tech covers.
Okay. Yeah, my mind went to 37-28 and Tech covering, but even that might even be a backdoor situation.
Yeah.
I think Georgia's just going to be too good in too many phases. Like, if you have a pathetic defense at times, it's hard to feel good about you winning a game against a team of Georgia's caliber. And
Agreed.
I think Georgia's offense has gotten better over the course of this season. Like, this is a good Texas team. Or it's a good Texas front. It hasn't been a great Texas pass defense, obviously, this season. They've dealt with some injuries. And that game got out of hand. Yeah, I think Georgia Tech covers. I think they'll still be able to move the ball some. But again, Georgia's been playing the run so well.
They have.
That if you could make Georgia Tech one-dimensional and make Haynes King and this is not easy. This is easier said than done. Haynes King beat you through the air as a moat, like, you're in a great place. So I think Georgia's going to take away bread and butter too often. But yeah, I think Georgia Tech will still be able to score some. But yeah, I think this is Georgia by 9-11.
I mean, what you're describing is not unlike what I described last week when Georgia Tech played Pitt.
Right.
And my whole thesis for that game is that Pitt's good enough to take away enough of the ground assault to make Georgia Tech a little bit more one-dimensional, and to obviously score when they have the football. I think that was at least partially right. And I think Georgia can do a lot of the same stuff, but I think the stakes in this one are dramatically different than what we saw a week ago. Even though the ACC and the rights to get into the ACC title game were very much on the line, I think when you play a rival like this, a national power like this, a school that has been in the running nearly every year for the last decade in Georgia, Georgia Tech is very much still in this mode of trying to prove itself like it belongs on that stage. And we got a great game from them a year ago. They could have won that game in 8 overtimes. I think we're going to get another good effort from Brent Key. Any Brent Key squad plays hard, whistle to whistle.
That's true. There's going to be a lot of that Key sauce, Ty.